So people who are new to this, so this is like a sister user group for our regular London Power BI user group, where we wanted to, the main idea is to bring some female speakers, and it's about encouraging each other, and also not only about the session, but also a bit about like all these speakers, how they manage to be there, like whatever their career success or all these things, to be able to ask these questions. And also, I mean, like not only from us, it's me and James who's going to ask questions in the beginning, but I'm sure if you have any questions, you could use the chat window to type your questions there. And you could see, is there any, can you hear me?
Oh, yep, I can. Yep.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Somebody said, is there a problem with sound? So I was wondering. Okay, so the pattern for today is we in the first 15 minutes we're going to ask some questions to Leila about herself, and like how she is being such an amazing leader and like an inspiration for many people. And then we jump into the actual session, and James will close the call. And this session is going to get recorded, and we will publish the session on our YouTube. So if you don't want to be part of the recording, please leave or turn off your cameras, or whatever works for you. And yeah, please use chat window to ask your questions. And me and James will monitor the chat window, and we'll summarize the questions for Leila at the end. And the last thing is, like, if you don't have any questions, if you don't have nothing to say, and if you're not Leila or James, please mute yourself. So yeah. All right.
And we'll try and remember to unmute ourselves at the right moments.
Right. Okay. So do you want to start, James?
Yeah. So, I mean, we've known each other for a little while now, but I don't think I know how you actually started your career in data and how that came about.
Oh, yeah. So data. So I used to be a programmer. So I studied computer science at university. And when I graduated, I become a kind of application a developer. And so we have an interface layer, business layer when we're designing application, and data layer. I was terrible in the interface layer. I don't have any interest on web designing and application designing. So I'm not really good on that. But I found myself so interested in a data access layer. So I see that I really found working with SQL part is really fun. So in the company that I'm working, I gradually joined the team that do mainly, work that time with a crystal report and other things. And then after that, actually, I found, okay, that's area I think I'm better than on that. So working with SQL, doing some database developing, and then SSIS, SSRS. So that's how I come to the data part. So yeah. And then actually after that, I found machine learning a bit interesting. So a bit through that. Yeah. So, but mainly about data.
So was it always in the New Zealand? Because I know you so for a while. So you're not always based in New Zealand, right? So did you start before, or?
Oh, yes. So back to that. So I'm originally from Iran. So actually I studied my university there. So that's interesting. In Iran, when you want to go to university, you need to attend the exam, and based on the score that you get, you can choose the any study, any field that you have. And that time, I remember I'm not really into IT or computer. I was more into accounting, but my brother could tell me that no, you should, computer things is really good, and you can find job better than that. And I remember first I put accounting, and also in the middle I put computer science. So I didn't listen to him properly, but finally I enrolled into the university. And in the first day I want to change my major actually. But after a while, I get familiar with programming. I thought, okay, that's good. That's interesting. I don't like the hardware part at all, but I found the software part, the programming is more interesting. So I said, okay, I will continue. And I get good scores on that, but very bad score on the hardware part. So that's how I
So actually, that's kind of, it feels like my story. So I mean, like, because I'm also born in a different country and English was not my first language, and I did struggle quite a lot. So I mean, like, why I'm asking this question is like, and I'm sure there are so many people out there where their first language is not English, but you now everyone is here to listen to you. So how was your journey with that?
Oh, good. Yeah. So actually, I just know English in academic, not really good at speaking before coming to New Zealand. So I just read and write on that, but never speak on that. When I came to New Zealand, I also studied in a PhD, and I do that lots of teaching in a university. That's a big help. I used to teach in back Iran at the university, but never in English. When I came to New Zealand, because in the university I started to the tutoring and also doing the lecture at the class. That's a really good start, and also starting with a user group. I remember my first speaking was to the Code Camp New Zealand 2013 actually. So that's my first kind of community speaking here, and it was hard for the first time.
Yeah, it was pretty difficult for me for a very long time as well, and I still find it very difficult.
It is, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll let James, if you.
So how did you get started in the community now? Because you've obviously such a big presence in the Power BI and data and machine learning community. I don't think I've ever been to a conference that you haven't been there, speaking for that matter. So yeah, how did that all come about?
Oh, I really love community. So one of really missed these days in this pandemic, and I think his impact on me emotionally and in the life is these conferences not happening, and so that's impact a lot. So it's a start again from the New Zealand user groups, and of course SQL Saturday. So SQL community was really actually a good start for me. I'm really sorry that PASS is not happening anymore. So that's kind of the good start for us in SQL Saturday in the user group things, and so that's a start. And I get this family with this community, find a really good friends like you guys, and so it's kind of I find it really good. So it's not just for sharing materials, it's about finding people who kind of think they have same interests, and kind of they are really good people, they are community persons, so they have community feeling, so it's really easy to be in touch with them. I'm saying that I really missed this year that, and I think one part of my life is kind of gone.
I know. Tell me about that. So for you, like you being part of this community and all, did it help you like with career wise, with for your successful career? And like if it does, like I mean, how it has like, and like if you're encouraging somebody else to be part of the community, how it has helped you, if it did.
Yes, it helped a lot actually. So being in community, that means that every day you get new things to learn. So that means that you get excited about one thing that people talking about in Twitter, in LinkedIn, or in a conference, and that's you get inspired to going and check it out and learn it, and then write about it, and then maybe create some videos out of that. And for example, for me, for Azure Machine Learning, I remember first I heard it in one of the conference in New Zealand, I think that, or in the past actually, I heard about that 2014, and that was the start. Oh, what is that? And then I'm going to start to explore it, write it, and then I found, okay, I see about the one-day material on that, so I will start a course on that. So it's actually from interest on that, it's become a kind of, they help me to create some course on that and presentation, do some consulting on that scenario. And so it's a kind of from kind of, you get some materials from there.
Yeah,
lots
it gives
of
you some kind
discussion.
of tasting.
Yeah, exactly. So yes, of course, yeah. And also when you have these communities, so we run conferences, so we learn a lot from other previous conference organizers and help us to run the conference. So I find it is really win-win situation, and I totally recommend people to kind of join these communities.
That's indeed, I echo the same thing.
And
And
how do you balance your time though between
yeah,
not only speaking, attending the conferences, and also running your own conferences? I mean, as well as obviously having your own business as well to run as well. How do you make all that work?
Yeah, it used to be very hard. So to be honest, it's not easy part. So I'm couldn't say no, that's easy. No, it wasn't easy to kind of organize conference, going to different countries for there. But because this, I didn't always look at it as a work, so I couldn't distinguish it is work or not. So I think I'm really enjoy it. So I kind of consider it as a part of my holiday, kind of that. So yeah, attending a conference for me is like a holiday. So it's kind of, I really enjoy that. So that's why maybe. So that's why I couldn't, just feel that, okay, that's 14 hours flight to Europe, just that. And, but still, I really kind of enjoy it through that. But it's hard, to be honest. I found it that sometimes I need to a bit slow down, but now it's too slow actually. So it's actually, we couldn't run, we couldn't travel. So, and in this situation also, we couldn't have our conference in a big, but we, same as you guys, we back to online and try to do that. But I think that's the thing. So if you enjoy, also you do the same, also you are doing the same, so we enjoying the things that we're doing, so you never feel that how is actually it's happened, when you enjoy it's happened. There is no need to actually think about how make it work.
That's very true. So as it is, actually we have some questions from in the chat as well. Before we got in there, I just want to, considering time and considering the whole thing of our power of women in data. So I want to ask a few questions about women-oriented things as well. It's like, so being a woman and again, being from somebody who came from, like me, who came from India, you came from Iran, and we come from different cultural backgrounds and all those things. So how did that helped you or impacted, or or what do you suggest? What kind of advice you give to other women who is there, looking up to you, and I want to be as successful as Leila, I want to be an MVP, and like what kind of path you suggest them?
Yeah, so coming from different language speaking and also different culture, yes, can be challenging, but it's actually a good challenge, because when you face new culture and new languages, also exciting when you kind of learn the new language and speak to other people. So it's really good to be in touch with the people who are positive. So it's really important to be in a good environment. So I think I'm really lucky to be in a good community and working in a good company and then being a part of the good community. So I totally recommend that they explore their network, be in touch with other women that they doing that. So that's really helpful. Or in a man, I think there are lots of our actually fellow men in our community. They are really helpful, and just I think that's the best thing. I think I found that one is really good. When I'm, for example, writing or speaking, I definitely have lots of grammatical or something like that. But when you actually work in the content that you're working, it doesn't that much impact, because yes, it's better to be good in grammatical and things, but still, when you work on the content that you like, people if get that content. So in the same time, you improve your language, but also people understand you. So I think it's good to be surrounded by passionate people who kind of like that products that you're working. So that should be fine, actually.
Yeah, just focus on the content and get out there, talk to people, and do it. Yeah, totally. So as we said, we were talking about women and all those things. So and how you encourage women. So what do you what is one thing you would suggest, somebody who is just starting and like a very junior, she's just starting the career or something. What is something that you would suggest them? What do you want them to do? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, sure. So it's actually, so the first step is about knowing the some of the tools and also some of the concepts of data. So how to kind of learning some of the real concepts about the kind of the ERD things and about the data warehouse things. Some of the concepts that's really important, and the rest is about data quality things, how to gather the data, get the data. So definitely Power Query or SSIS should be the best thing because that's the data. I think that's also good steps for people who want to do data scientists because they also need to work with data. So it's kind of the working with the data is the first step that I think everyone doing data and anyone works with data actually needs to know that. And after that, about how to kind of interact to get the requirement of the customer they want. So that's a kind of the business part of that. That's also matter because they have something in mind and you want to know how to create that report. Or if you are doing the machine learning, for example, in another job, you need to know that what's the main reason, do what the requirements. So that's also really helpful. That's a skills. I call it a soft skill rather than a hard skill. So that's also really important. And the rest is about learning some of the tools like Power BI to just kind of doing visualization DAX. So I think, but the first step is about data, how to work with data. And so, for example, it's really interesting in our because we're teaching Power BI and data analysis in New Zealand, we have some, for example, doctors. So they have a clinic, and he wants to learn Power BI and data analysis himself. And so again, for him, the first step was about exploring the data. So he's start to learn data warehousing, fact and dimensions, and then doing that. So I think everyone should start from that point. I don't know. You also.
No, I totally agree. I mean, I think that that kind of answers Maria's question in the chat. Is like what it is. And so I think I totally agree with Leila. It's like when you understand data and how it works, irrespective of what tools you use, that is the core for everything. So yeah. So I think on that note, considering we don't have any more questions in the chat, thank you so much for your answers, and that was like really insightful. So I think now I'll stop talking, and we will see the amazingness of Charticulator. Yeah, that everyone has been waiting, and yeah, really looking forward to the session.
Cool, thank you. So I'm going to share my screen. Okay, so can you see my screen now?
Mm-hmm.
Is it?
Yes, we can see the screen.
Oh, cool. So Yeah, thank you. So this is really good. Actually, thanks so much for inviting me. I'm really excited about presenting this session. So before going to the actually detail, I'm Leila, based in Auckland, New Zealand. I'm AI and data platform MVP, and also, as I mentioned, I work with data and AI for a long, and so these are my actually Twitter handle and also my LinkedIn. So if you have any question after that about Charticulator or other things, I'm more than happy to actually to be involved. So, Charticulator. Before I'm going to talk about Charticulator, let me first about the history of the visualization and custom visual in Power BI. Power BI desktop was actually introduced in 2015, and it starts. We have actually lots of we have a visualization panel that has some standard visual there, and so, but most of the companies needs more visual. So we have a couple of options there. So in 2015, we have the capability of creating some more visual with writing R code in the visualization panel. We also able to go to the marketplace that time, and also now actually that means there are some pre-built visual by Microsoft or by other peer companies that creating visuals, so you can explore them and use them. But still, many companies, they need, for example, to change the bar chart or scatter chart in a specific way that they want. So there is also a possibility to create a custom visual that was a kind of the PBIVs file, and then import it to the Power BI. So I know that I think James also doing that, also using JavaScript and using .NET to create custom visuals. So in that scenario, you have lots of actually flexibility, but you need to code. It's really great environment. It's really good approach to create custom visual, but you need to know how to code. You need to JavaScript and the other. Also, same for R. Beside creating R visual inside visualization panel, you can create custom visual with R actually to create some visuals that has some problem. For example, we have a personal gateway problem, so it just published to the personal gateway. You couldn't publish it to the organizational one. It has it's one direction with the R. So nothing happened till 2018 that still we have Python over there. And finally, in 2019, Charticulator was introduced. So Charticulator is actually a kind of the tools that was created by Microsoft research team. So is kind of to help you to create charts for Power BI or create for the HTML or PNG file. And these are the people actually that mainly work. There are other people working on that now, but there are people who actually wrote a academic paper on IEEE journal, and actually they use Charticulator for creating some of the custom visual that we already have in the marketplace. So that's kind of has been used a lot. So what we do, so I'm going to just directly through that. I'm going to show you first a simple scatter chart, and then we are going to look at the pyramid chart, and finally a polar chart. So let's going through that. So let me open Charticulator. So also let me enable the zooming. So to access Charticulator, you just need to go to charticulator.com, and then here you can launch the Charticulator environment, and you can see some gallery and getting started. So I'm going to just launch it. So when you launch here, is actually is ask you about importing data. We have a tab data and link. I will talk about the link later when I'm explaining the polar chart. But for data, I'm going to create a simple scatter chart here to explain some of the features we have. So I have a data, for example, about the author bestseller. So one thing here is a CS. It should be a CSV file. Doesn't accept Excel file, and also there is a kind of the recommendation that bring less amount of the data. For example, just 1,000 rows, less than 1,000 rows. It's a recommendation. Doesn't mean that Charticulator not accept that, but it's a recommendation to just bring less amount of the data to create your custom visual. Later on in Power BI, it can be as much as data you want. So this is the environment that we have here. So what is happened here? So in the left, you can see the columns. So for example, you see age. Beside of age, there is a rural icon. That means that this is a numeric value. Or for example, for a year, we have a kind of the histogram. That means it's a categorical variable. Or name is a string. So you see this icon. So you can, and also you can change it. So if you click on that, you can change, for example, the genre of the book from categorical to the ordinal, or the same for the other one. So you can change the type. That I don't recommend because you already know what your data is. So this is here. You can change your actually replace the data. So if you're not looking for that, you can replace it again, doing that, or you can click on these three dots to view the actually what is happening in your data. So how many rows and how many columns you have. Okay, so here is actually the data part. We have two windows. So this is a design window, I call it. This is the preview window that we have. So here we are, the place that we're going to design, and it's called it as a glyph. I don't know what a glyph stands for, but they call it glyph. And in each glyph, actually, we have two major things. We have actually, we have two layers. So one layer is a chart. That's, for example, how many axes we have in chart. For example, we have a plot segment that has X and Y axis. We have a title of the chart here. So there's some static part of the chart. And we have glyph that is part of the dynamic part of the chart. So glyph is mainly about the dynamic part. So let's start with that. I want to add rating sum to the, for example, y-axis, and the rating cons to the x-axis. So I just drag it and bring it here. So when it get orange, that means it's okay, we can drop it. And also rating con to the x-axis. So here I just specify what should be for X and Y. So it doesn't mean that when I import it to the Power BI, it should be exactly this column. It can be any column, but it should be a numerical one. So it should be numeric value for the X and Y. So now to the top. So at the top, we have marks. So marks is actually a part that you specify your chart should be a bar chart. It can be a scatter chart. It should have a label, a static label. So a static label doesn't have dots, but the dynamic one that actually represents for each data point, it has a dot. Same for the image. You see that we can have just a general image, just one image in the chart, or for each point of the data, we can have a image. So the one that has dot means that it can be with each point of the data. So for these charts, I'm going to create a scatter chart. So I use the symbol part that can be a circle, triangle, or whatever. So I just drag it here. Because this is glyph, that means that it is based on each rows of the data. So you can see about, so normally in this data set, I have 42 rows. So you should see approximately 42 actually icon circle in the here. So this is my data. And if you look at the glyph here, you see that symbol is there. So actually everything that is rows by rows of the data is going under the glyph. For the symbol of the data, I want to add some legend for that. So I want to put year as a legend, and I win the color of the symbol become different. So I click on the symbol here, and under the symbol, I have some attributes. So if I click, for example, on title, again, I have the attributes of the title. For the plot segment, I have the attribute of plot segment. I can change it. Also, I can change the name here. So I said here, instead of that, I can set, for example, rows of data or something else. So not symbol one, maybe the, for example, circle. That, and I click on that, so it's become that. So you can change the everything that you have here. So I want that the circle has different color based on the year. So what I'm going to do, I'm drag and drop year to the field. That means that it's going to be different. And you see that under the field for the circle or symbol that was initially, I can now is based on is bonded to the data. So here is actually, you can see the binding to the data is already bind to the year, and you can change the color if you like, and you can change the binding. You can change it to the gent or other thing. Besides that, you can add the legend. So if I click at the legend over here, you will see now I have another option under the charts, another kind of the item. So legend is not repeated, kind of is not, for example, for the circle, we have 42 circles per row, but we just have one legend. So the legend going to the chart, not going to the glyph. So that's why. If you click on the legend, then you can actually specify the location or do some things. So still, there are some formatting here that you can actually mention through that. So just try to find a good one. Maybe something like this. So you should specify which one you like. So that's actually how it works. Maybe here or here. Yep, just finding out. And also, so this is the one. Also, for example, for title, that also is part of the chart. I can change the title. So I can click on that and set scatter chart. And it really matters that you click on that one. So let's change it. Another thing is, for example, I want to have another bind, another value for the size of the circle. So I'm going to bring, for example, age or number of the pages for the size. So I drag and drop that one to the size. Just make sure that you click already on the circle so you can see some of the changes over here. Let me change the location of the legend. Is a bit not really good position, something like here, for example, or yeah, that's better. So you see that the size has been a bit changed over here. So here on the segment, you can also see the range of the data. So if you click on the segment, you will see that for the x-axis is rating count, is a start from 500. So maybe you want to start it a bit, you know, just for example, because 500 is what's happened in our data, the minimum things that we have in data. You can maybe change it to 100. So actually you have more space over there. Or for example, the same for the other one, maybe it's better to be a bit kind of have some space, so you can change that one also. So I'm very fast going to show you how to bring it in Power BI, and then I'm going to show you a complex chart with the other part. So let's do that. First of all, you can save it. When you save it, it's going to save in your browser. I'm going to put a name, scatter chart. London user group. So when I save it actually, so if I open another Charticulator, not this one, this is my Chrome. If you click on the open, you can see all of the charts that you have. You can copy them, download them, or delete them. But for example, if I open my, for example, Charticulator, our Edge, Microsoft Edge, you will see that if I click on the open, I see different things. So that means that it's going to save on your browser. So that's one thing. So I'm going to save it. So I save it, and then you're able to actually export it. So if you click on the export, you're able to export it as an image, different type of image, HTML, Charticulator template. That's one when you want to have a nested chart. So we can create nested chart, and instead of actually putting a dot or bar chart, it can be this chart. So that's the main use case. You can create actually so Power BI custom visual. So these are the data mapping. At the same time, let me open my Power BI desktop. So here I'm going to say, okay, year was legend. Actually, it was a legend for me. I'm not sure. Sorry. Oops. This one I think was x-axis, no matter actually, that's much. This one was actually the size, if I'm not wrong, and this one was for y-axis. So you can actually change the name because it shouldn't be same data set. There are some auto scale because the scaling can be changed there, and you can allow drill down or the other things, and you can change the one. So scatter chart, you can change the icon. I'm happy with that. So I'm going to download it. So what is download? Is actually download me a file with a type of PBIV. So that's a custom visual one. So I'm going to actually get my data. I bring the same data for now because I want to show you that. So I use the same one for now. So it's going to load, and so yeah, same data, and then I'm going to import it from file. So if you see under the visualization panel, we have 3 dots that actually enable you to get more visual. That's navigate you to the actually marketplace. I'm using the second one that import a visual from a file. I say, yep, import a visual, download. One. So it's become, so same as the other visual is coming here. I'm going to use it. So you see that is actually, these are the fields that I put. I hope that I put the correct one. So I just put the legend for year, just make sure it's not summarized. I think this one for the, again. So that's another things that we need to be careful about that. Sometimes it's summarized, so that's I think okay, I hope that I'm all right. Okay, so maybe vice versa. Let me check with that one. Yep. I'm writing some for the other one. Again, don't summarize. So hopefully sometimes it's actually, so yeah, maybe I put the actually wrong for the X and Y. So you should make sure through that one. So still you can change the scaling over here. So that's a place for the scaling. You can change the scaling over here. And the other parts actually like the plot segment and actually some of the things, the circle size, and does it have a stroke or not, and the capacity over here. But for that one, you should specify the range of the data. So for example, I use the wrong range here. So if I back and check the charts over what I'm created. So for the x-axis, I put rating count, and for the y-axis, I put rating sum. So maybe I need to change that one. So maybe because the range of the data can be different. So let me check again to do the same. So X rating count. Oh, it actually is correct. I think it's a bit, just make sure. And the other one is the size. Yep. Okay, so sometimes it's actually just, yeah, so the designing. So that's another one of the problem that we have with the Charticulator about the scaling. So that can be kind of a bit different from what we have over here. But the good things about that is actually you can kind of check it that with, for example, I put the legend here is kind of you can scale of each of them, select, and it's interactive with the other one. So one of the problem that we have with that one is about the actually scaling. This I think I made some maybe difference on the scaling over here, so that's I need to check that, but it actually should be the same things over there. So this is one of the charts that we have over here. So I'm back to the one that I have. I'm going to create a new one. So for the other one, I'm going to create a pyramid chart. So I'm going to have a data set about pyramid, and I'm going to import it. So for pyramid chart, what are data set I have? So this is from Adventure Works data. So I have an age range of the people is a string. I have how many cells amount female has and how many cells amount male has. So these are the data that I have. So that type of the data I have. I'm going to add the age range for the y-axis, and it should be vice versa, it should be other side, and I'm going to click on the plot segment, and because it's a y1, so here you see that you can rearrange it, so I said it should be reverse, and then okay, so it's better now. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to create two axes over here. So I'm not going to use x-axis. I'm not going to use that. I'm going to create my own axis over here that I found that part is really good. So let me a bit bigger that one so you can see that. So you can bring it over here. So this is my area. This is data access. So beside X and Y and plot segment, you can have your access. So I'm clicking on that, and I'm saying that I want the access that starts from here to here. So if you look at that, you see that is creating the access for me here. I need another one that again starts from here and end over here. So if I back here, so I have two axes over here, and because they are bound to the data, they are going to work with each rows of the data. They are under the glyph. So for the data axis one, I want to show the female cells. So that's the female cells. For the second one, I'm going to show the male, actually the cells amount that the male has. For the first data access, that is for the female cells, I need to kind of change the position of that. So instead of default, I said opposite. One thing here, so you see that both of them start from 0. So if I just redo it again. So for example, if I start from here and draw it till here, then if I actually put, so 0 start from there. So that's the direction is really matter. That's why I kind of doing that. So again, oh, sorry. So that's a female one. Oh, let me draw it again. So here starts from the middle to here and showing the female cells data. I put it like this to see the data access over here. And for the other one, again, for the male, I put it over here. That shows the male cells amount. And for the other one, that's actually in the other, again, I change it to the opposite. So what I can do now, so I want to actually have a bar chart to compare these sales amounts. So I'm not going to use, I'm going to use a bar chart. So I click on the bar chart over here. You see that there is a blue point over there that actually shows the actual data. So I'm going to draw the bar chart from 0 to the data point. So now I can see a bar over here. But what is happened if I draw the bar from 0 here and goes to the end of the data, then it's not going to bind to the data. It just goes to the end of the data scale that we have, which is not really good. So I want to bond to the data. So as you see here, I have a data point over here. That is actually in the blue, that actually shows the average of the female whale, but is actually going to each data point. I do it the same for the other part, that is for the male says, I think. And then, oops, something like this, and you can change the one. So you see that because it's bind to the each rows of the data, again we have shape 1 that actually you can change the name through that. So let me check. So data access 1 is for the actually female, I believe, and the other one is for male, if I'm not wrong. So you can actually change to don't mix it. So you can change the name over here to be that. So just let me check it again. I think it should be female, and yes, average female. So to not mix it, I change it. I'm going to change it to the data axis, and this one is data axis for. So also the shape 1 is in the actually side for the actually female part. Again, I change it to the female, and this one to the male. So I need to change the color. So I'm going to, for the female, for example, I change it to this one, and for the male, I'm going to change it to, for example, the blue one. So you can see the information over here. Sometimes also, for example, you want to see the data label over there. So for seeing the data label, for example, you can add a text that is going for the each rows of the data. So I click on the text here, and I put it here. So now you can see for the each rows of the data, you can have a text. And I said, for example, text should be a numeric value. So you can have a label, and you can actually, of course, you can change the text location a bit better. So see that over there. So that's actually how you can manage it and see that. So you see that actually, again, I use the text icon that has a dot that is going to run for the all of them. I just need to know how much time I have. So do I have?
I think we're good, Leila. It's okay if you overrun. It's absolutely fine.
Okay, cool.
So with your state.
Cool, thank you. So these are the actually, you see that actually data access and labels can be really actually good. Again, same as the previous one, you can import it. So I'm going to actually to export that one with the Power BI one, and I change it to the pyramid and download here. Going to get the data. Let me see if I have it pyramid before. Yes. And then, okay, and then, oh, okay, bring the visual, import a visual from my download, same process. So that's a one. So you can change the icon, so don't mix that one together. So it's better options. So let me. So, okay, so I think I do it vice versa. I think there's a difference between them. I think that one is that one. I think I did a mistake on the labeling. I think it should be okay. Yeah, so that's actually, you can see that how it works. So you can actually bring it here. Again, this is if I want to show it with a actually one, so it's you can kind of select and kind of the dice each other. Oh, sorry, that's a different data set, right? So age range to be that one, and then, for example, this one. Yep, so it should actually slice and dice each other. So that's also interactive through each other. Okay, so that's another one. The last one that I'm going to show, and actually I found it interesting, is a different polar one. So I'm going for one of them, I think. So that's kind of, I think it's a kind of the time consuming. So I'm going to doing that. Again, I can save it over here. So I call it pyramid for the park here. Going to create a new one. So this one is actually is a chart. So if I want to show it through here, that's actually, you can have a polar chart. So I'm going to use the example for the Les Miserables movies, theater actually, that some of the characters attend in the same episode and how they are connected to each other. So for that purpose, I have actually two data sets. So I have a data set that is about Les Miserables note. So is name of the people, their ID, and which group or episode they belong. And the other one is actually the link between them. So it's actually showing that how they are connected to each other. It's a bit different from what we already have. So here I need to bring the data that is from node. So I bring it the data for the node, again CSV file, and the link. So here is actually the link between the data, is a kind of the parent and child. So that's why we need a separate one. If you get time, I show you another example that you don't need to do that if the data is not based. This is a parent child, so that we have to do that. So now we have two sets of the data and links. I just bring the data over here. I'm going again use the bar chart. So I just drag and drop the bar over here. Each bar I want to have a different color based on the group that they belong. So same as the other one, you see that under the glyph we have shape. So I call it as a bar. Bar is better than shape one. And I want to change the color of each bar based on the group. So I'm going to drag and drop the group over here. So that's actually now it's become different color. And for each bar, actually, I want that the height should be, for example, 15, smaller one. I change the height, and also I want to add for example, the name as a text over here. So again, I use the text for each rows of the data. Click here and put it here, and I put the name for that one and just make it a bit like this and bring it a bit here. Okay, and maybe decrease the size a bit so we can have a better one. So these are actually the one that I have. Now I'm going to create a link. So here, because I import the data link, I have actually link by data. You have another link, I'm saying that in the data, which is not about the parent and child scenario, but that's based on the actual rows of the data. If we get time, I will show example of that. But here is based on the parent child, so we import different data here. So I click on the create link, and it's bring it. Otherwise, I want to be other side, so I just click in these two to bring it over here. Now I'm going to it's so dark, so I'm going to change the, so you see that on the chart, we have a link here, and I'm going to change it to something like this to make it a bit lighter. So now imagine that I want to have a different shape. So we have an option named scaffold. So a scaffold means that you can change to a polar one, or you can have your own desire, custom curve. So I click on that, I bring it here. You see it's become orange in the area. And then here, if I click, I have a pen that I can create a custom curve for myself. So I click on that, and I'm saying that I want the chart to be something like this, and it's actually change it to be that. So that's a kind of the fun things that you can actually do. That is can be any shape based on the chart that you have. Or for example, again, if I kind of do another one here, go to the new, bring the same one, so node and then link. I'm not going to change the other one, so again I'm doing that, and the group for the color, same process. And so in this time you can actually drag and drop a polar chart and make it as a circle. So you see that how much is easy actually to change all of the kind of working with that. So if you, just for your more information, if you go to the Charticulator and go to the gallery, you will see some of these chart that has been created. So they use the same process. There are some small video for each of them. Is to start with them is a bit very hard to start with them, but actually when you know that how these icons works, now you can actually easily work with that. Or for example, this one, you see that it has a different scale on that. So let me, example, coming to here. So it's actually use the data access here. So this is the data access over here that actually bind the different value over there. So if I, for example, show you some of the example that I have from previous. So for example, for the bullet chart, I'm actually using a one data access over here. And so these are my data access. And for the data access, let me make it bigger. So this is my data access that I have, and actually I have different point of the data for like a KPI, is it good, bad, or measure. So you can actually play with that and see that how it works. So if you know the things, so many things you can actually do with that. I have a kind of a course on about these topics. I created a 4-hour course on RADACAD. So if you want to know more about that, so I recommend doing the course, because also we have some Q&A for people who actually doing the one. Let's look at the questions. So based on that, I'm also going maybe show some other things. So if it's, so any questions?
I've captured a couple. If I just very quickly show my screen.
Yeah.
These are a couple of questions from the chat, if that helps.
Yep. Can the data model in Power BI be used as Charticulator, a link to the data model? You mean the data model to the Charticulator? No, actually. So you need to bring the data. So for now, you just accept the Excel. There is no way to actually to connect your data to the Charticulator. So you need to kind of have a small part of your data and bring it there. I hope that I understand well that one. For example, dynamic. Here, yes, it can be dynamic. So, for example, in this example, let me. Can I share my screen here? Sorry for a minute. So here is actually, you see that the data scale can be used as a KPI. So these actually bond to the data. So in that scenario, yes, it can be. So this is actually a simple bullet chart for 2 categories that already we have it in Power BI custom visual, but you can have it for 2 categories or 1 categories or whatever. But here, yes, it's become bind to the different parts of the data. So it's actually, yes, we can have it. Also, let me stop it so I can see the other one. Any other questions?
I think that's all of the ones that we've had. I didn't think I saw any in the chat.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it was certainly inspired me now to go and have a play. I need to make sure my children are asleep, and then I'm going to sneak down and crank open Power BI and get have a little bit of a play. It's quite exciting to actually be able to do something quite that beautiful without needing to get into the JavaScript, which is I have a bit of a love-hate relationship with. So.
Yes, same for me. For example, we have a chart in actually our name slope chart, and I remember for custom visual I wrote about at least 700 rows of code, and when I regenerated here with Charticulator, it just took me 10 minutes, and I was like, oh my god, that's much easier. So yeah, some is good, pros and cons. You see that I have some problem with the scaling, so that's a thing, it still need to be fixed. We don't have the link to the actually to the images, so that's another one. So pros and cons, it's still growing. I think it's still they are working on that.
Actually, Mark's just asked another question as well in the chat. He says, do any of the options get transferred to the visual in desktop, allowing the user to alter these in design time in desktop?
Okay. No, actually, I love that one. Actually, it's good to be there, but no, doesn't have that one. And also, there is some limitation. You see that, for example, for the legend, I just able to change the location of the legend in the design time. I don't have it in the Power BI format, but yeah, no, doesn't allow that one either.
Great. In which case, oh no, it's saying I'm muted, but I'm not. In which case, I think unless anybody else have any questions, have I missed any, Prathi, do you think?
Oh, thank you.
No.
I think that's everything. So yeah, thank you ever so much. Really interesting session.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me.
I think as you
yes,
particularly close to my heart with custom visuals. So
yeah, I know you are doing great on the creating with .NET. Is yeah, that's always
James loves custom visuals.
I love a map.
Yeah, and he love a map.
Yeah.
Great. Well,
yeah. But yeah, thank you so much. It was really good session.
And
thanks for your time,
guys. Yeah, it's good
and
to be
we'll
connected.
post the thank you, Lee. We'll post the video in the meetup group so that you can go back and try and follow those instructions in detail so we can all create some beautiful charts.
Oh, thank you. Thanks so much. That's be great.
Yeah, I'm gonna send the feedback form in a second. And here is a feedback form. Please fill in the feedback. It's really appreciated for the speakers and also for the organizers. And there are some name and email addresses. You don't have to put it if you don't want to. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. So, yeah.
Hopefully we'll get to see you again in person.
Hopefully, yeah. Hopefully, I'm really happy. Hopefully that this ends soon and we can travel. You can travel to New Zealand.
I know.
Yeah.
See, I wanted to come to New Zealand in 2020 and then Corona happened.
Oh yeah, hopefully in 21 we are lucky. So yeah, let's see
Yeah,
that. Yeah,
yeah, let's hope.
good. Oh, thank you
Thank you so much.
so
You have
much.
a
Thanks everyone. Thanks for
great
joining,
rest of the day.
and enjoy the
Yeah.
rest of your day. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, James. Bye, Leila.
Bye.
And bye, everyone.